You know who saw that? Jesus saw that.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Movie Review. This time we're looking at A Christmas Horror Story. This is a 2015 film, runs about an hour and 39 minutes, directed by Grant Harvey, Stephen Hoban, and Brett Sullivan. Alright, so it's Christmas Eve in this small town, but no good shenanigans are going on in the town of Bailey Downs. We do open at the North Pole where Santa Claus is greeting his reindeer, and then he turns and we get this look at a bloody-faced Santa. There's a blinding light, and we cut to the town. And here we find Dangerous Dan, played by legendary actor William Shatner, who's a radio host, and he's talking about local events, and he seems to be talking to no one most of the time. Like, he seems to talk to a producer that isn't there, which is pretty weird, but this movie is definitely on the odd side. So what this is an anthology movie with stories that loosely intersect each other. There's three kids, Dylan, Ben, and Molly. They're breaking into a school that was once a convent because they're there to investigate and make a film about the murder of two students the year before. One girl named Caprice was supposed to go, but she is part of a different story in this anthology, and she gives them the keys that she took from a family that she babysits for. Well, the three investigators go down and shoot their footage of this crime scene, and they end up getting trapped in the basement. And then things go horribly wrong. And we follow Caprice's family as they go to a estranged relative's house and try and seemingly leech money off them. These kids are awful people. The girl's a little klepto, and her brother is just a complete jerk through the entire thing. And this ends up falling apart, and on the way home, something runs in front of their car, and they go off the road, and then they are hunted by Krampus. Then we have the story of the first responder police officer who initially found these dead kids the year before, and his wife and kid. They go out looking for a Christmas tree, and they come back with something else entirely, and it doesn't go well for anyone. Then there's the story of Santa Claus as he tries to deal with an outbreak of seemingly zombie virus with the elves, and it may have something to do with Krampus. Now, the Santa Claus story seems like an outlier and may not relate to the others, but the very end of the film explains that, and it's a heck of a twist. It's a little predictable. I kind of saw it coming because there are hints kind of scattered throughout, but there's definitely a really dark aspect to that one. Now, I can't say a whole lot without ruining major surprise elements of the film, but they did a really good job with the budget that they had. I'm not sure exactly what the budget was, but it looks like it was filmed for a fairly low amount of money, and I think they did a great job. The sets looked great. They didn't have a giant cast, but they definitely had a fairly extensive amount of extras, and most of the people in this are not the most well-known actors, but they all did a really good job. George Buza did a great job as Santa. Rob Archer as Krampus looked really good. The lady that plays Molly, Zoe de Grand Mission, I don't know how to pronounce that. She did a really good job. Everybody in the film did a really spectacular job overall, I think, especially considering this is technically a B movie, and it's a Canadian production, so that may have influenced it a little bit too, but solid performances all around. There was really good atmosphere as well. The cinematography was great. There's some really good jump scares. There's some parts where you think there's going to be a jump scare and they don't do it, and that was pretty impressive actually, because they could have gone for the cheap jump scares, but they went for some good ones. Now, the ending of Caprice's story was a little weak, but overall I thought they wrapped it up pretty well. It was a little dark for most of the stories, but that doesn't really hurt the movie per se. I thought overall it was a good horror film, and especially because I generally hate anthologies, they did such a good job interlinking these stories that it really works out quite well. Also, the score was really good, and it really played into the atmosphere of the film. The way they juxtaposed juxtapose the happy, shiny Christmas music with the more dark, serious horror soundtrack really worked quite well. So all around, this is a pretty solid film. I'm definitely going to recommend it, but don't let kids see it. It is really dark. There's a fair amount of gore and blood. I didn't see any nudity, but it does have a very high body count at 19 that I counted. And most of those were elves, but I counted them for a reason. Now you're going to have to watch the movie to see what that reason is, but by the end of the film, it'll make sense why I counted the zombie elves. So a pretty fun film with some dark imagery and definitely dark themes. This is a very adult film, despite the lack of plot points. So I am going to recommend it. It was a pretty surprisingly entertaining film, but definitely not going to be for the faint of heart. And if you hate anthologies more than I do, which is going to be difficult, you probably won't like it, but I thought it did a really good job of weaving everything kind of together in a loose sense and resolving everything pretty well. So a strong recommendation for this one, but in the meantime, that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the episode, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel out in other ways, links are in the description to various support methods, and as always, we hope to see you on the next one.